In a world where we believe all the mysteries of the past have been uncovered, there exists a story still hidden on the edges of historical narrative. It surfaced when Graham Hancock sat across from Joe Rogan and described a map of the world that shouldn't exist. Coastlines under ice, submerged cities, and DNA connecting continents thousands of miles apart. If even half of this is true, the world we inherited is much older, stranger, and more advanced than we dare to imagine. What you are about to hear may completely change your perception of our past. Archaeologists teach that the first great maritime exploration of humanity occurred 3,000 to 4,000 years ago during the Polynesian expansion. This great seafaring, recognized by archaeologists, is a remarkable story. The Polynesians were amazing navigators and incredible ocean sailors. Without modern tools, they read the stars, waves, and the behavior of birds to find tiny islands located thousands of miles from shore. They settled on Easter Island, a tiny island in the Pacific Ocean, 2,000 miles from South America, and also 2,000 miles from the nearest inhabited island. They brought enough people to create viable communities and made this journey again and again, proving that modern technology is not needed to conquer the sea. But this, they say, was the first time. And before that, no one dared. But what if it wasn't so? What if the greatest era of human exploration occurred not 3,000 years ago, but 12,000 years ago, and was erased from the face of the earth, leaving only forbidden hints scattered across maps, DNA, and the ocean floor? If they had boats 4,500 years ago, why do we assume they never left the Nile? Archaeological evidence suggests they had large sea vessels. Trade expeditions to Punta recorded thousands of miles away, yet the main focus remains on the coastline, as if an unspoken rule forbids looking further into the past. Hancock claims we have simply lost the evidence. The shorelines have risen 400 feet since the last glaciation. If advanced ports or cities ever stood there, they are now under hundreds of feet of water. Silence is not proof of absence. It is the price we pay for rising sea levels. Look for the clues. Deep in the Amazon jungle, a strange DNA signature appears in indigenous groups, a signal similar to those found in Australia and then in the Pacific Ocean. Not just once, but enough to attract the attention of geneticists. There is no easy land route connecting these places. No known migration scheme explains this. Over the last decade, several studies have tried to understand these genetic anomalies. Even conservative researchers acknowledge that it is mysterious, yet instead of inspiring deeper investigation, the main narrative dismisses it as impossible. Why is it impossible? Because no one was supposed to sail the oceans 12,800 years ago, yet genes tell us that someone might have sailed. And then, there are maps. In the year 1513, the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis created a map based on more than 100 old sources, many of which survived only in fragments. This map depicts South America, Africa, and at the edge of the parchment, a southern continent resembling Antarctica, ice-free as if it existed 12,000 years ago. In his notes, Piri Reis noted that some of his sources came from the Library of Alexandria, which was said to hold knowledge from even more ancient times. Modern radar studies of the Antarctic subglacial terrain reveal features that strangely resemble ancient maps. How could 16th century cartographers have known about this if they did not borrow data from much older sources? Longitude is a key point. Latitude is defined simply. The sun is high at noon. To determine longitude, an accurate chronometer is needed to measure the difference between local time and a reference point on the other side of the world. Our civilization solved this problem only in the late 18th century. Previously, ships often strayed hundreds of miles from the shores. However, ancient maps behave as if the marks on them were precisely determined 12,000 years ago. According to Graham Hancock, the only explanations for this are either a vanished extraterrestrial civilization far in the galaxy, lost human technology, or something alien, a device surpassing the compass of a wooden ship, possibly an orbital map or a network of satellites, now invisible to us. Let's consider another map, the one Hancock often mentions, the Pinkerton World Map of 1818. It is based on the best data of its time, yet still leaves the South Pole empty, a hole at the bottom of the world. Why? Because officially, civilization did not discover Antarctica until 1819. However, older maps created long before that show Antarctica exactly where it should be, larger, free of ice, and with details, as if someone created it at a time when sea levels and ice sheets were radically different. Some maps even show Greenland's coastline under ice, which we confirmed only with modern radars. Coincidence upon coincidence begins to form a pattern. And then there are the stone witnesses. The Bimini Road is not very deep, only about 20 feet. It was one of the last areas to be covered by ice at sea level. Off the coast of the Bahamas lies the Bimini Road, a formation of massive limestone blocks arranged like a road or harbor wall, officially termed natural beach stone. Submariners like Hancock see this as purposeful construction. But interestingly, the last time this territory was above sea level was thousands of years ago, and on the Piri Reis map at the exact location of today's Grand Bahama Banks, a large island is depicted with a series of monolithic markers running through its center. The map shows it above water. Sea level data claims it hasn't risen above water since the Ice Age. Regardless of whether the Bimini Road is man-made, the map indicates that human eyes and hands were here long before the Polynesians. Some researchers begin to doubt that the maps we see today are the result of medieval cartographers' work. They believe these are the last echoes of something much older. One hypothesis is that during the Ice Age, a global civilization truly existed, but it was quite human. This civilization was much more advanced than the hunter-gatherer image we associate with that time. People living on the coast could build cities, ports, and had precise astronomy and chronometry. Perhaps they invented their own methods of measuring longitude or created chronometers long before us. But all of this was destroyed when the sea level rose by 120 meters at the end of the Ice Age. The survivors retreated deeper into the continent, losing their technologies and preserving only fragments of knowledge in myths, maps, and oral traditions. If Ice Age people had accurate clocks or clever natural methods to read the Earth's magnetic field, they could determine longitude as well as latitude. They could draw the coastline of Antarctica without ice, because that is how it looked back then. For millennia, these maps were rewritten and copied until their fragments survived to the Renaissance and beyond. This version of the story suggests that our ancestors possessed much greater abilities than we think, and that what we call progress may actually be a rediscovery. It also makes every underwater ruin a potential lost city, rather than just a curious artifact. However, there is another, stranger explanation. Hancock believes that the maps and anomalies may not be the legacy of a forgotten human civilization, but rather originate from an external intelligence, beings from another planet, dimension, or something in between. During the Ice Age, instead of ships moving along the coast, think of spaceships, satellites, or drones scanning the Earth from above. They wouldn't need chronometers at sea. They could capture images, measure magnetic fields, or transmit data to ground stations. They could move human populations across oceans, leaving genetic traces like the connection between the Amazon and Australia. They could observe cultures with astronomy, agriculture, and knowledge of megalithic construction. If you have aerial photography or an orbital map, you can certainly draw Greenland under ice and Antarctica without ice. You look from above with technologies that noticeably surpass the sextant. This also explains why some maps show mountains, rivers, and islands as they would appear from a satellite's height, rather than from a ship's deck. This idea elevates the mystery to a new level. Pyramids, stone circles, and long-lost coastal cities become not just testimonies of human craftsmanship, but also results of alien learning or colonization. This also explains why myths around the world speak of gods descending from the sky to teach civilizations. Hancock does not claim to have found the ultimate solution. He says that the data we have, from DNA, maps to some combined structures, are enough to pose a new question. Have we inherited fragments of a lost global culture? Every culture tells stories of the flood, Atlantis, and Plato, of flood myths in Mesopotamia, India, and Mesoamerica. When you compare these myths with actual sea level data, they astonishingly align. What if these myths are not just stories, but memories? Memories of the time when the ocean swallowed the greatest ports of the world. Memories of sailors watching their harbors disappear forever. What do you think? Could these maps, monuments, and genetic traces truly be remnants of a forgotten human civilization, or something much older, stranger, and not quite human? Are we looking at the last messages of a lost world, or the first proof that we were never alone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to continue exploring hidden stories with us, don't forget to like this video.